Welcome to my show, Ian McEwan.
Thank you.
You have been here before, but it was a few years ago.
It seems only yesterday, but it was 2007, I think.
But it was another novel. Today it's a novel called in English Machines Like Me and Maskiner som jag in Swedish. And it's a very interesting thing that you've done because you have mixed the past. It's London 1982 and also the modern time or even time to come.
Yes, it's a 1982 but somewhat altered. Various political and technological things are different. I was, as a young man, living in exactly that part of London, but earlier in the 70s. So I wanted to revive this rather shoddy, derelict bit of South Clapham.
And you make people come alive that are now dead, like some of the Beatles.
Some of the Beatles.
They reunion.
Yes, they make a terrible album. So John Lennon is not assassinated. And the Beatles go on to make one of their worst albums ever with a big orchestra.
But there is something that I think the book is about, the novel is about, and it's about artificial intelligence and how we love to make copies of a better me.
Yes, I think it's a powerful and very ancient impulse we've had. Even back in classical antiquity, we had Prometheus. We have the Jewish powerful myth of the golem. We have even Adam and Eve in Genesis, in the Bible, is a kind of story of a huge intelligence making copies of himself. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we have Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which I think is our modern text, that these robots will be a threat to us. So I wanted to enter into this debate and also look at the possibility that maybe they'll be better than us. Maybe they'll be nicer than us. Maybe we'll give them our best selves. Then we'll feel really worried, I think.
Maybe they take over.
They'll maybe take over them and tell us how to run our lives.
Mm. But it is about Charlie. Charlie has inherited a little bit of money, and I don't know really why, but he wants to buy a robot.
Yes, he's a bit of a sort of technological fan. He's come by some money. His life is not very successful. He has some money, so he buys one of 25 completely plausible artificial humans. Even when you stand up close to them, you cannot tell the difference between Adam or Eve and a real person.
And there are 12 Adams.
Yes.
And 13 Eves. He wanted to have an Eve.
Yes, he was too late. He got an Adam instead.
Yeah. And then he plug in, and it's so interesting to follow. He's sitting there eating his breakfast, watching this robot to see what will happen. He's
slowly coming to life. First his eyelids flicker, his skin takes on a bit of warmth. And then they have their very first conversation. It's like almost first contact with an ancient tribe in the Amazon in a way. And it's rather frightening. And at the same time, is it a computer game he's playing, really? A complex computer game? And it's really the progress of what an intimate relationship might be for us with a completely plausible, likable, but slightly threatening artificial human.
It's quite a scene because Adam is sitting there all naked.
He's naked, so Charlie gets a good look at him. Then he goes and finds some old clothes and is fascinated to see that Adam can tie his shoelaces, for example, which is a very complicated thing. We do not yet have a robot that can tie his shoelaces. It's a routine we have, but I mean, it's quite complex. Anyone who's raised a child knows, it takes a while to learn to do it. But gradually Adam comes to full life, and one of the first things that happens is that Adam has a night of shame, we might say, or a night of sex with Charlie's girlfriend.
Yeah, Miranda.
And Miranda and Charlie then have the standard, how dare you kind of argument. And that's the first time that Charlie begins to recognize in himself that if he's feeling jealous, then he must accept that this is more than just a machine. So I'm hoping to take the reader as well as Charlie on this process of accepting that Adam has a full consciousness, that he has subjectivity, he feels pain, he can be in love. How do we respond to that? Do we believe him or not?
And Charlie doesn't know, of course, how to respond.
It's very difficult. When someone tells you they're conscious, we just take it on as a matter of faith because they're another human. If a machine says, I'm in love, or I feel happy, or I feel sad, is it just an algorithm speaking? Or must we begin to accept that we are made of matter and matter creates consciousness?
So
they are made of matter, so why not?
So does Adam have a soul?
Well, I don't think any of us have a soul, so that's where I'm positioned on that one.
But he has moral.
He has a very strong moral sense.
Yeah, very strong moral, and he does not even understand why Charlie and Miranda, they don't have the same kind of moral at all.
Yes, I mean, in some ways, the clash at the center of this novel is a moral question about revenge. Miranda takes revenge. And we feel that maybe that she's quite justified in doing what she does. She tells lies to the police, to the judge in a courtroom, and sends an innocent man to prison. Innocent as charged, but he actually has committed already a terrible crime. And Charlie says, well, the rule of law is very important. We cannot have a revenge culture. Whereas I hope to persuade the readers that actually Miranda has a very good case. And in that difference, I want to examine just what humans are. I think robots are going to teach us. They'll hold up a mirror to us to show us what we are.
And that is a really interesting part because, as you say, it's a kind of the center of the novel, those questions that you put.
It is a moral dilemma. I've rather stacked it because there's a child involved, and if Miranda goes to prison, she cannot adopt this child who comes from a poor background.
A few of the robots commit suicide.
They slowly switch off their consciousness as they become more and more distressed about the contradictions they find in humanity. That we love nature, but we're burning forests. That we love children, but they're dying of curable diseases, and so on. And slowly these contradictions bear in on them and depress them to such an extent that they no longer wish to be conscious.
We must have another look at the cover, because when I read it, I had to look at the cover, and I know you were there when they put this robot, because it's Adam.
It rarely happens that a novelist gets to watch a character constructed. We went to a factory that makes very high-class models for the fashion shows in Paris and London and New York, no doubt Stockholm. And there it was like a charnel house of legs and arms and heads and bodies. And we put together Adam from the description in the novel. And then a hairdresser came and gave him some hair. And then people were working on his eyebrows. And slowly this person emerged, just like a character in a novel. Some people find him rather spooky. I got rather fond of him.
You got fond of him?
Yeah. So they filmed me sitting...
You want to have a robot at home, maybe?
I would certainly have one. Yeah. My curiosity is too great.
You have also made Alan Turing come alive in your novel. And to explain him is it the father of artificial
in some ways,
intelligence?
I mean, Alan Turing was the great hero in the Second World War who helped... he was crucial in breaking German codes. Many people say he helped shorten the war, perhaps by 2 years. He was a great scientist, a polymath. He was interested in biology, mathematics, physics. But he was also gay. And under the very crude anti-homosexual laws of the time, he was persecuted by the very state he had served so well. And he was given a choice, go to prison or accept chemical castration. He chose the latter, largely out of curiosity, I think, to see what would happen. And I think it led to his suicide. So I wanted to redeem him and give him a life, but I also wanted him to be the conscience of this novel.
Yeah, because he... Can we tell that?
Of course.
Yes. Because he's really upset when Charlie give Adam to him.
Yes. When Charlie finally, for all sorts of reasons, takes a hammer to Adam's head.
Because he becomes so furious.
And Adam's last request is, please take me to Alan Turing. And Charlie does this, wheels this body across London where there's huge political turmoil and demonstrations. And Alan Turing then, at the end of the novel, delivers a very important message, that if we are going to ever make a being that's conscious, has a consciousness, we will not be able to own it. Just as we cannot own another person, we cannot own another consciousness. So Charlie gets, the narrator of the novel gets a proper telling off from Alan Turing.
How you must have had a lot of fun, because you you can just make people come alive. You can do whatever you want. You can turn this history around.
I played a lot with it. It was very tempting to play with, you know, so Britain loses the Falklands War, Mrs. Thatcher only has 4 years in power, the effects of social history of colossal. We don't have Mrs. Thatcher as this icon of our recent politics. But it was such fun doing this that I had to restrain myself, because the real story is
more important.
And artificial intelligence. But I realized that maybe this is what all novels do. All novelists are sort of counterfactual. They're playing with a reality or inserting themselves and their characters into it. But yes, so the little things like President Kennedy is not assassinated, the atom bomb is not dropped on Hiroshima, and various other little changes. And also Britain has very, very fast trains. You can get to Glasgow in an hour or two from London, but they're filthy. You can't see out the windows, no one cleans them, they're overcrowded. So the future, when it arrives, often arrives not sparkling and new, but slightly grubby.
Is this what literature are for? To make things fantasy? You create new questions.
I think of literature, and especially the novel, as a wonderful device to examine what we are, who we are, how we are, in history, in geography, what it's like to be in a city, what it's like to be in modern times, what it's like to be in a relationship. So I think when I'm writing a novel, I'm on a journey, and the journey is an investigation of human nature. It's one I still think, I know the novel's got many competitors now, especially with long-form television dramas and so on. I still think it's our best way of getting inside the heads of other people, and also finding the relationship of other people to the societies in which they live. So it's an investigation, not telling people how to live.
What are you investigating next?
I wrote a novel about climate change called Solar some years ago, and I'm tempted to go back to this subject. Things have not got better since I wrote that novel 10 or 12 years ago. They've got worse. I'm interested in this extraordinary generational upsurge of kids in their teens.
Greta.
Yes, and all the thousands of millions of school kids who are just saying to us, to our generation, come on, do something, join us. I also think that with these current populist surges all across Europe, the United States, Turkey, Bolivia, Brazil, this is a very unfortunate moment, just when we need to be thinking collectively. We are shrinking into ourselves, into our own borders, and I feel this particularly in Britain with Brexit, that this is just the moment when climate change demands goodwill and collective action.
I look forward to read that too. But I had great fun reading this.
I had great fun writing it, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you. It was nice to have you here.
Thank you.
We'll come back next time.
Next time, yes.